All right, time for some serious journalism and a fun segment with some unexpected connections to the Asian American and Pacific Islander world. We are talking about the yo-yo. The yo-yo feels eternally new and exciting. Every generation seems to adopt it, but it is actually the second oldest toy in the world after dolls. There are ancient Greek yo-yos made of terracotta in Athens, and there are yo-yos pictured on the walls of Egyptian temples. But the modern story of the yo-yo starts with a young gentleman named Pedro Flores from the Philippines, where carving... What's wrong? Oh, okay. I thought that was a little bit contemporary. They were supposed to be showing the historical video. And now, time for some serious journalism and a fun segment with some unexpected connections to the Asian American and Pacific Islander world. We are talking about the yo-yo. The yo-yo feels eternally new and exciting. Every generation seems to adopt it, but it is actually the second oldest toy in the world after dolls. There are ancient Greek yo-yos made of terracotta in Athens, and there are yo-yos pictured on the walls of Egyptian temples. But the modern story of the yo-yo starts with a young gentleman named Pedro Flores from the Philippines, where carving and playing with wooden yo-yos was a traditional pastime. When Flores moved to the U.S. in the 1920s and worked as a hotel bellhop, he found that doing tricks with his yo-yo drew a large crowd. So he started a company to make the toy, calling it the Flores Yo-Yo Company. This was the first appearance of the name yo-yo, which means come, come in the Filipino language of Tagalog. Asians also played a big part in the promotion of the yo-yo, and as you see, still do to this day. Joining me right now is yo-yo champion Joseph Harris. He is a four-time national USA champion, heading to the World Championship Tournament in Japan. Joseph, welcome. Good to see you.
Thank you for having me, Robert.
Well, first of all, give us an idea here in terms of you were hearing a little bit of the history, and some of it surprised me, some of the cultural connections. Give me an idea, how much were you a student of the yo-yo history, and how much of an attraction was it for you to start doing it?
The yo-yo history attracted me primarily because it was a weapon. That was like one of the big things that caught me. And when I saw yo-yoing in its modern form with lots of tricks, that just appealed to me to a whole new level. That's where I picked it up and started practicing.
And then there's a cultural connection, which I didn't even know about really until recently. Did you kind of feel that too when you were doing it?
Not really, not so much. Being Asian American, born here, it was more so when I started to travel to other countries where they started talking about, oh yeah, this was here in China for a long time.
Yeah. How big is the sport, and why is the World Championship in Japan? You know?
The World Championships only started moving around. Last year, it moved out of the U.S. to Prague in Europe, and now we're moving it to Tokyo, and next year it's going to be back in the U.S. So it's been pretty big. There's definitely a good community of yo-yo players. We call them yo-yoers, and we all like to hang out and play yo-yos, come up with competition routines, which is what you see there.
How do you like your first role models, or who was it that you emulated, or did you just start doing kind of the simple tricks that we all learned and then just found out you were good at it?
There was an interesting story. I was in elementary school. I remember this day vividly because that was the turning point of my yo-yo career, if you will. I was in 5th grade. It was 1998 in Alawai Elementary back in Honolulu, and the Team High Performance came to my school. They were a young group of yo-yo professionals, yo-yoers that performed. And in Hawaii, it's very cliquey, a lot of things pick up and get popular really quick. Yo-yos was no exception. And we were very competitive amongst each other. So if you didn't have a yo-yo or you didn't do that trick, you weren't really cool. It got so popular, yo-yos got banned at our school. And that's when I realized I got to start practicing outside of school.
Has the culture grown in the United States rapidly, or was it kind of a slow thing that grew in the United States?
I felt like it's grown rapidly. It has cycles. When I started in the late 90s, it was definitely a boom. Yo-yos reached everybody. I think at one point it was a McDonald's Happy Meal toy. That's how big it was.
Now, offset, my son Mason and my daughter Olivia are kind of playing with the yo-yos
I
over
see
there.
them over there.
How are there a lot of women competitors, female yo-yoists?
Oh yeah, I want to shout out to my teammate Tessa Pacillo, who's a current female world champion. Won the title in Prague last year. She's going to be competing in Tokyo this year. She's been practicing hard. So shout out to you.
Is she a Bay Area person too?
She is. She's from Castro Valley. If she could only come to my yo-yo class in San Ramon, gosh, bugging her to get there.
What should somebody know about the yo-yo that would help them go from being pretty good at the yo-yo to being somebody that can actually do it like at your level?
Don't be afraid to ask, because the resources are all there. And the best way to learn yo-yo tricks is, even though with all the resources on YouTube and the internet and forums and blogs, is to be in person at a class, at a club, and you will actually get more from that hour versus spending hours online watching a video. So I recommend going to classes and clubs.
What's interesting too is like the martial arts, you know what I mean? There's the
Yes.
physical part of it, but then there's also the mental, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, and you get a lot out of that, huh?
Exactly. I do get a lot of that because, as you see from my yo-yo performances and competitions, it's really a sport, and it makes you break a sweat if you really work at it.
All right, we're looking forward to seeing you do this. Thank you. All right, well, you've seen some of the video of Joseph Harris. Stay with us. He's going to put on a special exhibition next.